Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for a brand new themed webinar brought to you by Travel Bulletin. This is our Middle East virtual showcase. Let's hope we can bring some sunshine and warmth to this otherwise grey day. We have two fantastic supplier partners joining us today who are keen to update you on their latest news. I'd like to welcome Dimitris Sikaris from Ras Al Khaimah Tourism and also Aspen Barker from the Saudi Tourism Authority. Each of them is going to deliver a live 10-minute presentation followed by their own individual Q&A session. As always, can you please submit your questions to each presenter using the Q&A function? And we'll get through as many questions as we can in the time that we have. Each presenter is also going to announce their competition prize and question at the end of their training session. And you'll need to enter your answers after the webinar is finished via our website, travelbulletin.co.uk/webinar competition. The deadline to win today's prizes is Wednesday, that's this Wednesday, the 30th of June at 4 p.m. Up for grabs today, we have a 3-night stay at the wonderful Waldorf Astoria, courtesy of Ras Al Khaimah Tourism. And we also have a goodie bag courtesy of Saudi Tourism Authority. Okay, so let's get started. I'd like to, first of all, please welcome Dimitris to the stage, so to speak. Good to see you, Dimitris. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you to you, and thank you to the lovely team at Travel Bulletin. It's amazing to be with you today. A very special event. I mean, the very first Middle East virtual show. I'm really, really happy to be with you today.
Also, Dimitris, as we spoke briefly earlier, I know that you're looking forward to getting out there when you can and seeing people face to face. So whilst we like these, we're looking forward to the real thing, so to speak, as well, aren't we?
That's absolutely right, and I know that you are planning to start, organizing face-to-face meetings, and I hope everything goes well. And hopefully, one day, very, very soon, I will be able to join one of them.
Well, absolutely, we look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to being able to shake your hand once more. So, without further ado, let's move on. I'll leave you. Please share your screen, and I'll see you at the end.
Great, thank you very much. First of all, I want to say hi to everyone. I keep seeing in the chat section, everyone saying hello from Rainy X, hello from Rainy Y. So it's my turn to say hello from Rainy Patney. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, we only have about 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start sharing my screen with you. And I promise this presentation is slightly different from the ones that you have watched before. So I hope everyone is excited about this. So yes, let's put it on full screen mode now. So as you know, for those of you who have seen me before, or for those that I talked to for the very first time, I am Dimitris. I'm head of sales at PRM Global, which is the sales representation company of the beautiful Ras Al Khaimah here in the UK and Ireland. And this is our brand new presentation. Before we go into the new stuff, let's talk about where, first of all, Ras Al Khaimah is. Ras Al Khaimah is one of the 7 emirates in the UAE. It's just 45 minutes away from Dubai International Airport. So it's a really easily accessible destination, literally just under 7 hours by plane, flying into Dubai, and then 45 minutes by car from Dubai International Airport. So it's really easy to get there. So some key facts about this beautiful destination in the Middle East. It's the 4th largest emirate there. It's actually the northernmost part of the UAE. It translates into the top of the 10th in the local language. It comes with a relatively small population, covering a small area, having an ambitious goal of reaching 3 million tourists by the end of 2025. The 4 key elements of Ras Al Khaimah are the following. The beautiful coast, 64 kilometers of beautiful natural sandy beaches there, mountains. The mountains in the UAE are actually in our emirate, Ras Al Khaimah, so all the mountain activities are offered there. You have the desert, terracotta colored desert with all the nice activities there, and then the natural mangroves, which extend into the very center of the city. I just said that we have some exciting news about Ras Al Khaimah. So a few weeks ago, the Tourism Development Authority introduced the new vision, the new brand of this beautiful destination. So let me introduce you to, first of all, our new logo. So this is the Ras Al Khaimah Qasida. A qasida is the line extension between 2 letters that keeps them connected. And the inspiration behind the new logo comes from actually the elements of Ras Al Khaimah, the mountains, desert, and the views. So the Ras Al Khaimah Qasida is not a straight line. It is a line that moves to create a connection between mountain, sea, and desert. It flows with the sand and the dunes. It moves with the sea and the waves. It stands out with the mountains, and it feels personalized. So it's exactly what your experience is going to be in Ras Al Khaimah. So what does Ras Al Khaimah stand for, really? So you have nature, a lot of leisure activities, adventure, culture, and history, everything presented in a very authentic, truly welcoming way. So you will find yourself between the earth and the sky, where everything happens and literally everything is possible. This is a map that I have shown to you before. I love it. I think it shows in a very beautiful way everything in Ras Al Khaimah. On the left-hand side, you have the mountains area where the mountain activities are offered. On the right-hand side, you have the newest part of the destination where most of the new hotels are. And in the center, you have the oldest part of the destination where Ras Al Khaimah city is. Al Marjan Island, one of the most exciting projects in the whole of the UAE. Al Marjan Island is a series of 4 connected man-made islands. Several hotels operate there already, and you also have new hotel brands that are going to open very soon, like Marriott, Movenpick, and Sheraton. The good thing about Ras Al Khaimah is that it covers all different budgets and requirements. So you have self-catering options, 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course, 5-star luxurious hotels, like the one that you're looking at the moment. I'm sure you have all guessed correctly that this is the Waldorf Astoria, one of the most beautiful hotels in the whole of the UAE, coming with a 350-meter stretch of pristine private beach, 2 pools, including an adults-only pool, 9 different international restaurants and lounges, indoor and outdoor Pearl Skills Club and babysitting service, and then 346 deluxe rooms and suites. The amazing thing is that literally the smallest room at the Waldorf Astoria is 56 square meters. So imagine how impressive, how spacious the different deluxe rooms and suites at the Waldorf Astoria are. Then let's talk about COVID. Unfortunately, we have to do it. Ras Al Khaimah was one of the very first destinations that took significant steps straight away to safeguard the health and, of course, the security of guests and the local residents there. So it was the very first tourism destination in the world to receive safeguard assurance label from Bureau Veritas, the very first destination in the whole of the Middle East to be recognized by WTTC as a safe travels destination. And it was the first global destination to provide free departure PCR testing. This is currently available till the 30th of September 2021. It's currently been updated, and I wouldn't be surprised if it gets extended. This is for all international guests staying overnight in Ras Al Khaimah, literally all of them. One of the most important elements of the Emirate is about culture and heritage. So you have heard me before talking about how rich the destination is in history. It's one of the very few places in the whole world that has been continuously inhabited for more than 7,000 years. So a lot of culture and heritage to take in. For example, you can pay a visit to the Daya Fort, which is the highest hilltop standing fort in the whole of the UAE. And this is where the locals would go to protect themselves from the invaders back in the 19th century. Guess where the invaders were from? They were actually British. You can also pay a visit to the SUWAIDI pearl farm, which is the very first cultured Arabian pearl farm in the whole of the UAE. And you can do also many water activities. In reality, most of the beachfront properties in Ras Al Khaimah offer water sports centers. So plenty to do there for both young and adult guests. Aviation activity is one of the most exciting activities in Ras Al Khaimah. So you have the aviation club, which offers a microlight flight, amazing aerial views of the whole emirate there, or Sea Wings, which can do all the aerial views, but they can also take you to Dubai, for example, for the day. Yes, we are in the Middle East, so we have to take advantage of the nice desert areas there. So many things to do and experience there: camel riding, horse riding, dune dashing, paying a visit to the nature reserve Al Wadi. I mentioned, of course, the horse riding, falcon shows. You can practice your archery skills. This is one of the most beautiful experiences that you can do in Ras Al Khaimah. 3 different desert camps. You can spend the night in all three of them. So you have the Basata Village Desert Camp, the Bedouin Oasis Desert Camp, and you also have the newest addition, which is the Dunes Camping and Safari. This is for, again, couples and families. So you have belly dancing demonstrations, you have barbecues, so many nice experiences there under, of course, the sky. Golf. You have two professional golf courses there. The Hamra Golf Club, which is one of the most organized golf courses in the whole of the Middle East, and it was home to the finale of the European Challenge Tour back in 2018. This is at the Waldorf Astoria, so you can see the picture on the right-hand side, the bottom picture there. And then you also have the Tower Links Golf Club, which is one of the most beautiful natural golf courses in the UAE, offering amazing views of the mangroves and the Hajar Mountain range there. If there is one thing that truly differentiates Ras Al Khaimah from all other destinations nearby, are of course the mountain activities. Jebel Jais is the highest peak in the whole of the UAE, standing 1,934 meters above sea level, and the temperature is actually 10 degrees less than it is on sea level. Of course, Ras Al Khaimah offers sunshine all throughout the year, and we say the best time to visit the destination is between October to May, when the temperature is, of course, much more tolerable. So the average winter temperature is between 18 to 25 degrees. Does this mean that people don't go to the destination in the summer? Of course they do, but it's slightly warmer. Even if you go in the summer, though, if you want to experience the mountains, it's not going to be as hot as you can imagine, because on the top of the mountains, the degrees are actually less there. So you can do many exciting things up in the mountains, from simple things such as mountain picnic. You can do hiking, biking, trekking. We have the new Bear Grylls Explorers Camp, so that takes both adults and young guests. They can provide tailor-made programs to your clients, so please keep that in mind. You can have nice, relaxing yoga sessions there. The viewing deck park are for those who want to go to the mountains. They don't really want to do much. They can just enjoy the nice views there. And you also have 1484 by Turo, which is one of the newest additions in the Emirate. It's the highest restaurant in the whole of the UAE. Fantastic menu and truly stunning panoramic views from this restaurant. I would highly recommend this restaurant to your clients. When it comes to activities, you have the J Sky Maze. You also have the J Sky Tour, which is a series of different 7 different zip lines, so they're different length and in view. So it's an amazing experience. And the most popular activity up in the mountains is, of course, the world's longest zip line that was launched 3.5 years ago. It still holds a World Guinness record for having 2.83 kilometers of length. There are so many people that visit Ras Al Khaimah just to do the zip line, and we are truly happy to be able to offer this to our guests. Even if you don't go up to the mountains, there's still plenty to do down in the city center. So you have the Cornish areas where you can enjoy nice walking with your family and your friends, especially during evening time when the temperature is slightly less. And then there are 5 different shopping malls. So all the different brands that you can imagine are available in Ras Al Khaimah. The souk markets are something that I truly love. I think this is a nice way to connect with the locals. You have spices, herbs, local products you can take back home. So it's a really, really nice experience. Future project, this is possibly the most exciting part of this presentation here. So as part of the new rebranding, there are so many activities that have been announced, and we are truly happy for this. So just last month at the Arabian travel market, Ras Al Khaimah embarked on a substantial capital investment program that includes more than $136 million invested in capital projects. So imagine how many new experiences are going to be offered to your clients. New projects across Jebel Jais, Marjan Island, Al Hamra, and so much more. So what I would like the Travel Bulletin team to start sharing their screen, and they're going to show you a nice video about these new experiences in Ras Al Khaimah. yeah, thank you so much for showing this video. Literally just going back to the presentation for a couple of slides, or maybe I don't do that at all. So we're just so excited that we are able to offer so many new things to our guests. Ras Al Khaimah is a beautiful destination for, you know, everyone, pretty much, you know, families, friends, honeymooners, groups of people traveling together. And it's a very open, liberal, and very welcoming emirate. Thank you so much for your time.
Wonderful, Dimitris. That was fantastic. Don't worry, I wasn't going to leave you there. Don't worry. That was awesome. We've already got an awful lot of reaction to the video. That was a fantastic video, really, really strong. I'm going to come back to it because it's prompted a few questions, not only from some of our audience, but also from me. And I'll just ask all my own questions otherwise. So okay, we won't do that. I'll start with a question that was asked, by a couple of agents, Sandra Louise Lambert and also Rebecca Harvey asks, what is the situation? Obviously, we can see, if you look at the sort of COVID numbers and everything else, that Ras Al Khaimah has entirely small numbers from what we can see, and yet it's on the red list. Why? I know I shouldn't be asking you this, but have you a feeling as to why that is?
No, that's absolutely fine. This is a very sensible question, if I'm allowed to say. My personal feeling, my personal understanding from what I hear, from the Tourism Development Authority in Ras Al Khaimah, as well as our partners here in the UK, really, is that unfortunately, because Dubai is an international hub, this is affecting pretty much everything. You are absolutely right. The numbers are very low. We are welcoming guests from pretty much all different other parts of the world. So the hotels are actually busy. Generally, the hoteliers, the stakeholders, and everyone there, even local, people that run businesses there, cannot wait to start welcoming the UK guests again, because at the end of the day, the UK was one of the top 5 markets for the Emirate. This is, of course, not the case this year. And I think that everyone is pretty much trying to lead a very normal life at the moment. Of course, everyone, are taking measures. People have been vaccinated. Everything appears to be normal. However, just because of where the destination is at the moment, it's on the red list.
Okay, so it's more to do with, without slating anyone, it's more to do with neighbours rather than it is.
I would say it has to do with the fact that Dubai airport is such a huge hub for international flights. So I wouldn't really say it's about the region in general. I think it's about this specific fact.
Okay, so it's the airport is because there's so many places, so many airlines coming in and out of Dubai that from all over the world that they're deeming it to be a risk factor. Okay.
Absolutely.
How often does I'll move on to Steve Gosling asks, and this is a few of the people have asked about the Gulf. Can you sort of pre-book that before you go, and how do you recommend that?
Absolutely. I would say, and I think this is something that we have mentioned before, what most of the tour operator partners do, they work with local DMCs. So you can absolutely pre-book all the activities that you want. Even if you don't do that though, I mean, there could be families, there could be couples that check into the Waldorf Astoria, and maybe they didn't know before that there is an amazing 18-hole golf course there. So you can, of course, book something when you arrive. I would say, though, if you are sure about what you want to do, or if you have visited the destination before, so you know what is available there, definitely feel free to pre-book stuff.
Okay, fantastic. Right, I'm going to, yes. Uzma Valerio asks, can you do supercar driving? And is that experience possible? Can you take them up into the mountains?
You can definitely take them up to the mountains. First of all, hello, Uzma. We met in May 2019 in Birmingham. And yes, you can absolutely take the supercars up to the mountains. This is something that I have seen happening. So yes, this is something that is possible. Okay.
Right. Sandra Louise Lambert also asks, one of her questions is, how long does it take to get to the mountains? And what are the options in terms of getting there, apart from hiring your supercar, obviously?
Very nice question. And I have done it myself. I have actually been up to the mountains. It took me about 50 minutes to 1 hour. It was actually a very enjoyable journey. About 10 to 15 minutes you are by the sea, and then you move into, you know, the desert, and then you start going up the mountains. It's a very different experience, so this is why it was so enjoyable. You can definitely arrange this through the hotel, and also the tour companies can arrange the transportation for you as well.
Okay, fantastic. I've also got, now I've got this, people are asking about the video a lot. So everyone wants the video. So you're going to have to make sure that you can send it, if you are able to send it, Dimitris, when you send everyone a follow-up.
Thank you very much.
Because they're very keen on it. I've got Lynn Barham asks, she said, are there any specific adult only and all-inclusive options that you can recommend? She has a specific customer in mind, wink, wink. She doesn't wink, wink, but that's me adding things on now. Anyway, so if you've got, is there anything you can offer in or propose in terms of adult only, all-inclusive options?
The very nice question. Thank you for asking. In reality, I would say not all, but many of the hotels in Ras Al Khaimah, including some very nice hotel options there, offer all-inclusive options. It makes sense. So yes, this is available. And to the best of my knowledge, yes, there are hotels that offer adults only all-inclusive packages.
Okay, fantastic. Another follow-up question from Lynn as well. She wants to know, when you send it, if you're able to send it, the video, are they able to use it in terms of their social media postings?
This is literally a brand new video, which I'm sure you know better than me. I actually sent it to your colleagues literally this morning. So I will check with the Ras Al Khaimah Tourism Development Authority team, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay. And of course, when I get the approval, I'm going to send it to everyone that watched it. So yes, I will definitely share it with everyone. I think also there was one more question asking when all these new activities are going to be available.
Yes.
This is a very good question. I want to say that, of course, you saw a video that presents more than 20 different new things in the destination. So, of course, not everything is going to be available straight away or literally at the same time. I would say that most of the things that you saw are ready. Some of them are actually available already. So, within the next few months, everything that you saw, fingers crossed, is going to be available to you and to your clients.
I think it looks wonderful. I mean, I must admit, I have to say, well, personally, I'm really keen on all of those things. Maybe not the yoga, but apart from the yoga, then everything else looks fantastic fun. And it looks a really top family destination in terms of trying all those things out.
I'm happy that you mentioned this because most of our clients, most of our guests actually are families. And why is that? Because the weather is lovely. You have so many different experiences, and possibly you know this better than me. When your children are happy, you are going to be happy as well, and you're going to have a more relaxing time. And just because there's so much to do there, I think this is why families tend to visit the destination.
As long as there's my own recommendation to anyone as far as children is concerned is, as long as there's Wi-Fi, everyone's happy. And then we can move on. Right. To that end, thank you very much for that presentation. Thank you for answering all those questions, Dimitris. We're now going to have to move on to you telling us about your prize and giving us your question, if you can do.
Amazing. So we thought that since obviously this is the first virtual event on Middle East, we should give a very special prize. And I'm really happy to say that we are offering a 3-night complimentary stay at the Waldorf Astoria. It's one of the most beautiful hotels in Ras Al Khaimah, and I would say in the whole of the UAE. So the question also is very simple. I definitely stressed this out during the presentation. What is the size of the smallest room at the Waldorf Astoria?
Okay, so a 3-night stay at the wonderful Waldorf Astoria is up for grabs, and the size of the entry-level room at the Waldorf Astoria, please, in Ras Al Khaimah. Thank you very much, Dimitris. That's a fantastic training session, as always. Your wardrobe is still looking awesome behind you, so we'll we'll leave you and see you at the end. And thank you again. Right, I would like to welcome now Aspen Barker, who is the Market Manager UK and Ireland at the Saudi Tourism Authority. How are you, Aspen?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, it's lovely to be able to share this, brand new destination with everyone, and to see so much enthusiasm and pick up from the trade. So thanks so much for everyone for joining, and for Travel Bulletin for hosting.
Well, we're delighted to have you on board. And the last time I saw Aspen face to face, so to speak, was in a very rain-sodden Newcastle, wasn't it, Aspen? Is that right?
Yeah, another life, it seems like. Yeah.
It does. It was a long time ago. But yeah, so the weather hasn't changed for me. I'm glad it looks behind you as though the weather's there.
If only I could say that I was in the stunning Saudi Arabia right now. Unfortunately, I'm in quite a grey London at the moment. Yeah.
Well, without further ado, you share, please, and tell us more, and I'll see you after your presentation.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Okay. All right, everyone can see me now?
We're all good.
Fantastic. All right, well, thanks again, everyone, for joining today. As I said, I know it's a brand new destination for pretty much everyone, considering Saudi only opened up to international tourism in 2019, just before the COVID pandemic. So there was massive interest in the destination, and then of course nobody could actually get to go there, but has given us an extra year to be able to set up this tourism board, and now to be able to talk to all of you and get you up to date and ready to send the first few very lucky people to get to go to Saudi Arabia. So very excited to get to share with you today. And before we actually dive into the country itself, I just wanted to cover, why we're talking about it in the first place. Why did they open up to international tourism in 2019? And this is a push as part of a bigger, wider push, I should say, something called Vision 2030 that's been put out by the Kingdom. And this is where Saudi wants to open up to the world, both culturally and economically. And that means diversify the country away from oil and from dependence on oil. And they want to do this in a big part through tourism. So it's a really young nation as well. 2/3 of the population are under the age of 30, which is quite stunning. So they want to have this new vibrant society and a thriving economy, and they want to be able to empower the locals and the young population as well with job creation through tourism, and also to encourage its cross-cultural communication and collaboration. So it's an extremely exciting time right now. Saudi is really having a cultural renaissance. And just to take you through a couple changes, because I think that a lot of people probably have a view of Saudi that's 5 years, maybe 10 years out of date. So number one, the situation for women has changed drastically in the past few years. So for example, women can drive. In fact, if you go to Saudi, you might have a female Uber driver, something that was really sort of unheard of a few years ago. They're not restricted in travel or in dress. If you go to Saudi, you do not need to wear an abaya or a head covering or anything like that, nor do the local people there. The other thing that's really, really exciting is Saudi's new push towards sustainability. So they've traditionally been an oil-dependent nation, and now they want to be thought of as leaders in the sustainability space. So they're weaving this into every new project, including all of the tourism projects, which I'll run through a few of them throughout the presentation, but things like the Red Sea Development Project and NEOM, which you may have seen in the media, all of them have sustainability as a key pillar, which is really, really good to see. So Saudi itself, you can see sort of localize yourself there. So it's a perfect location for a mid-haul trip. It's about 7 hours from the UK. You can get there through direct flights on Saudia, which is the national air carrier from London Heathrow or Manchester, as well as British Airways flies directly as well. And of course, there are other indirect carriers that you can get to through the region. So Emirates, Etihad, Qatar Airways, Turkish Airlines. And then domestically within Saudi, as you'll see a bit later, it's a really large country. It's the 12th largest country in the world, but they do have 27 domestic airports, which service all parts of the country. So Saudia and other low-cost carriers, Flynas and Flyadeal, all fly throughout the country. And then it's also really well located for onward destinations if you want to make it a twin center, multi-center. So onward destinations from Saudia include places like the Maldives, the Seychelles, Indonesia, South Africa, which we think will all pair really, really nicely with the trip to Saudi. Some quick little facts for you. So the e-visa, which I've been talking about, which launched in 2019, it's completely digital. It's really, really fast. You can just apply online on the Visit Saudi website, and you'll usually get it through in about an hour. 49 countries are included, including the UK and Ireland. and it costs about £85. And that includes health insurance, which is quite a point of difference. And that includes COVID health insurance as well. So if you do get there when borders open and get COVID while you're there, you'll be completely covered by this COVID health insurance, which is baked in basically to the visa. English is widely spoken. You'll be fine getting around. It's a second language in schools, and most road signs are bilingual as well. One thing that's probably top of mind for a lot of people is the subject of alcohol. So alcohol is prohibited in the country. So as a tourist going there, you can expect unique, authentic experiences that are consistent with the local culture and customs. So that means not having alcohol, but there is so much to experience there, culture and adventure-wise, that we really think that, you know, you can definitely get by on a whole holiday without a cocktail. But if that is important for your customers, we also understand, and we think that pairing it with another destination, like some of the neighboring Arabian Gulf destinations like Ras Al Khaimah or Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Bahrain, or perhaps going in on a cruise, that will be another way for people to sort of dip their toes into Saudi. One other one that is, I've already mentioned a little bit, is female tourists. So female tourists will have no different experience to men while coming to the country. As I said, you can travel really freely. You don't need to wear an abaya, although both men and women should still respect the local customs and dress modestly overall. And it's a very, very safe destination. It has an extremely low crime rate, and you'll have absolutely no issue just walking around the streets. So now that the sort of nitty gritty is out of the way, I get to tell you about the more exciting bits and show you some amazing photos. So Saudi Arabia has a much more stunningly diverse landscape than a lot of people imagine, with oases, mountaintops, pristine beaches. And I'll show you a little map here. You can see just how big the country is, and I'll run through some of the key destinations that really showcase Saudi's beauty and authentic Arabian hospitality. So I'll start in the capital city of Riyadh, which is where a lot of people would enter into the country. It's where one of the main airports are. It's the capital. It's a really interesting mix of ancient and modern. It has both the historical roots of the kingdom, but also has this modern day metropolis, which you can see in the image there. There's also been a huge amount of investment in the arts and culture, and the sports facilities and green spaces in the cities in the past few years. So in the last couple months, they had the annual Festival of Light, which had huge art installations all throughout the city, and it looked absolutely amazing. And they have more festivals on throughout the year. So you have this great metropolis right there, but just venture about 20 minutes outside of the city and you have a completely different experience. So on the outskirts, you have Diriyah. This is the birthplace of the Saudi state. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's a beautiful example of traditional architecture in the region. This image that you can see there is of the palace, and that is going to be opening at the end of the year. It's just been undergoing some refurbishment. And there was also going to be lots of development around there. There's going to be hotels and museums built around it. But at the moment, like I said, it's only 20 minutes from Riyadh, so you can very easily go stay in the city and then go out here for a day trip. There's also going to be cultural and sports events being hosted here coming up as well. Also, just outside of Riyadh, you have an area known as the Edge of the World. So you can sort of imagine why. You have these absolutely spectacular views, 1,000 meters above the valley floor, that was once an ancient caravan route used to cross the Arabian Peninsula. This is a favorite spot for locals to go up and have a spot of tea or coffee at sunset. You can go up in a 4x4. You can do hiking or overnight camping trips with the DMC or a tour guide. Camel treks as well. It's just a fantastic way to get out and explore some nature, but still really close to the city. And then if you venture a little bit further out into the east, you get the image of what probably a lot of people have in their mind of what Saudi Arabia is. Saudi is home to the biggest sand desert in the world, the Rub al Khali, also known as the Empty Quarter. So of course, it's still a key pillar for us. You can do some amazing dune bashing, sandboarding, going out on trips with actual Bedouins as your guide. But you have these incredible sand dunes, and then you also have, just in the same area, you have Al Asa, which is the world's largest natural oasis, more than 100 desert springs. It is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And then the main cities in this region, if you just go up to the Arabian Gulf, you have Dammam, which is also connects to Bahrain. So makes for an easy, just drive across the bridge to do a multi-center there. If we move over to the other side of the country, up towards the border with Jordan, you have one of Saudi's most iconic destinations, Al-Ula. This is also the image that you might be able to see behind me on my screen. It's about an hour-and-a-half flight from Riyadh or Jeddah, or you could have a really spectacular road trip going up from the cities or coming down from Jordan. It's known as a living museum. It has 200,000 years of human history and absolutely incredible landscapes, as you can see. So you can do things like hiking, cycling, even zip lining. And then this image here is of Hegra, which is the jewel in the crown, I would say, of Al-Ula. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Saudi's first. And you might notice it looks a little bit similar to Petra in Jordan, and that's because it was built by the same civilization. So the Nabateans, they built Petra, and then they had their second city in Saudi, in Al-Ula. And Hegra here features 100 of these beautiful monumental tombs. So a really amazing experience to have that, and without sort of the crowds of Petra as well. So this is going to be a really key offering for us. And then if you move a little bit up north, you have the very rocky mountains and wadis of Tabuk. Again, it makes a great trip to go up from Al-Ula up through Jordan, up through these wadis, an amazing place to explore by 4x4 as a hike by guide. This area is known as the Grand Canyon of Saudi, and you can probably see why. And believe it or not, it has very tall mountains, and in the winter it actually does get snow. So Saudi, like I said, is huge, and it's very diverse in its landscapes, and the same goes for its weather. So you have some amazing photos of actually people hiking through the snow on a camel, which you don't get to see very many places. Moving down the Red Sea coast, you have an area called Luj, also referred to sometimes as the Saudi Maldives, because it shares these stunning white beaches and turquoise oceans. It's an archipelago of about 100 islands there, some of which are going to be developed with the Red Sea project, and some of them are going to be left in their pristine natural state. So as you can imagine, a really beautiful place to do snorkeling, swimming, boat trips between all of the many natural islands. And then if you continue down the coast, you get to Jeddah, which is Saudi's second largest city. And it's really vibrant cosmopolitan hub. It's quite an artsy city. It has events like the Red Sea Film Festival, but it's also the entry point for religious pilgrimages. So Jeddah itself is actually the city where Eve was laid to rest, according to local lore. And it's still a very, very important entry point for pilgrims to this day. The Corniche, which you can see in that image there, is famous for its sculptures. There's over 400 of them dotting the Corniche by world famous sculptors such as Miro, and lots of art galleries peppered throughout the city as well. That image there is of the King Fahd fountain, which is the world's tallest. So quite a lovely site to go to at night when it's lit up by 500 spotlights. And then in the city itself, you have this historic downtown area, which is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, originally built in the 7th century, all full of narrow alleyways. You have souks, quirky cafes, these ancient coral stone merchant houses, a fantastic way to spend an afternoon or a morning on a day trip. And then another great day trip from Jeddah is to an area called Taif. So that's home to Saudi's world famous rose industry, an amazing place to visit, especially in the spring when the hills are completely carpeted by pink roses. And then it being on the coast, it's of course an amazing place to explore the Red Sea. The whole Red Sea coastline of Saudi has basically been untouched. There's been no tourists going there, no divers or anything. So you have just amazing untapped potential with these untouched islands, Red Sea coral, as you can see in the image there, dolphins, dugongs, turtles. If you're not into diving, you can take a seaplane tour for a view of Jeddah's skyline and all of the islands around there, or take a boat trip to explore the shipwrecks and the coral reefs from above. And then further south from Jeddah, you have an area called Al-Baha, which is some of the tallest mountains in the region. As you can imagine, coming up in the mountains, it's actually really, really temperate in the summer. It's only about 20, 25 degrees. So this is a famous spot for Saudis to go in the summer for their summer vacations. Tons of outdoor opportunities like hiking, And then also in the south, you have the mountains of Asir, which have these really lush green Tolkien-esque valleys. You actually have baboons that run throughout the valleys. You have orchards, and these ancient hanging villages, the Habala hanging villages, are one of the things that I would really like to get to see on my next trip to Saudi. These ancient villages that are, just stuck up on the hillsides or the cliff sides, and were inhabited up until the 1980s. So that's our really snapshot tour of Saudi Arabia. It's also becoming home to a number of important sporting destinations, or sporting events, I should say, as you might have heard. So you have the F1 Grand Prix is coming for the first time to Jeddah in December. We also had the Dakar Rally earlier this year, and you have the European Golf Tour that's held at the Royal Greens Golf and Country Club in King Abdullah Economic City, which is just up the road from Jeddah. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg and just the beginning for Saudi. So over the next few years, we're going to see the opening of some extremely exciting tourism developments. So sort of going around, you have Neom, which is known as the city of the future. It's going to be a completely sustainable, basically carbon neutral destination. You have Qiddiya, which is going to be just outside Riyadh, and it's a sports and entertainment epicenter. That's where the F1 will likely move in a few years. You have the Red Sea Development Project and Amala, which are both on the Red Sea coastline there, which are going to be luxury beach resorts, but also arts and culture destination. And they're also really reimagining the way that we see technology and sustainability on the tourism scene. And then the newest one that's been announced is Al Suda, which is an outdoor adventure capital of Saudi Arabia that's going to be further down south. So that's my very, very whirlwind tour of Saudi. I'm sure there are quite a lot of questions, and if we don't get to them, I have just popped my email address in the chat box there. So if anyone ever has any questions, we would absolutely love to hear from you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you ever so much, Aspen. That was great. You've obviously got a lot to get into your presentation, so I'll be quick with these because we haven't got a lot of time for the questions, but we have got a few to fire back at you. So I've got one. This is from Brian, who asks, in terms of the COVID health insurance, what does that cover? Does it cover anything you need, or does it cover if you're supposed to self-isolate? Do you get hotel costs covered, that sort of thing as well?
Yes. There's a sort of a larger scheme that's being rolled out with this, and we have more information. So I would be absolutely happy to send all of that through in a larger document. But essentially, yes, it will cover all of your costs. Yeah, your health costs if you need to go and seek hospital accommodation or anything like that, and your hotel as well. Okay, good stuff. I'm going to. I think this is Tracy Milligan asked two questions. One of them is the self-drive perfectly safe? Yes, so at the moment, Saudi is most well set up for group tours and things being facilitated by DMCs and by travel agents like yourself. So that works great. And there are a few operators that are working on self-drive itineraries, which I think is going to be a great inroad into that type of a trip. So for example, Corinthian has a self-drive trip if you'd like to look into that. And yes, it is absolutely safe. As you might have been able to see from the map, Saudi is huge and there are quite large distances between the different cities. So we wouldn't necessarily recommend someone to just, get a hotel and airfare off of Expedia, show up there and rent a car and just do their own trip. At the moment, it's better if you do it through a DMC or through a top tour operator, and that way you can have guides in the different destinations as well, which I think is really, really useful, just considering the depth of culture and heritage offerings in each place. I think you really get a better sense for the destination when you do have that guide as well. Okay, Jan Ledger asks, if you were visiting on a cruise, let's say your cruise docks and you had an organized sort of tour as part of that cruise, do you still need to get an e-visa if you're going ashore? Yes, you would need to have an e-visa. I would talk specifically to the tour, or sorry, to the cruise line to see how that's going to be facilitated, whether that is included in the cruise package or if it's something that needs to be got separately. On that note, actually, in case anyone is unaware, we've had some very exciting announcements in the past few months that MSC has launched a Red Sea itinerary that's going to home port in Jeddah and then go up along the Red Sea coastline to Egypt and Jordan. And then they've also added Dammam to their Arabian Gulf itinerary that includes Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Qatar. So we definitely see cruise as a huge opportunity for the UK market. As I said, it gives you the opportunity, you can have a cocktail on the cruise ship if you like, and go to these other destinations, and then sort of try out Saudi if people are a bit more apprehensive and want to dip the toe in there. And then there are also some luxury cruise operators like Scenic, which is also launching a Red Sea cruise from Saudi, which is very, very exciting. Okay, good. Thank you very much for that. Uzma asks, best time to go. Are there, obviously it's a huge country, there's going to be diverse in terms of what you can experience climate wise, but are there times to avoid in terms of sandstorms and things like that? So you wouldn't have an issue with sandstorms or anything like that unless you were doing a very intense trip in the Rebel Khali desert. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But certainly the weather is very variable throughout the country, so something to consider. The winter is initially at least going to be the high season for us, so similar seasonality as Ras Al Khaimah and as UAE. But as I mentioned, you have the highlands of Asir down towards the summer where it's about 20 degrees. So that is definitely an option in the summer months. And then other regions in Tabuk, for example, where Neom and Amala are, because of where the mountains are, it creates a little bit of a microclimate, and it's quite cool there in the summer as well. So there is absolutely opportunity for it to be a year-round destination. But for probably the majority of the trips, and at least for the cities, if you'd like to visit Riyadh and Jeddah and Alula as well, the winter months and the little bit of the shoulder into autumn and spring are going to be the main times of year to visit. Okay, fantastic. We're going to have to wrap it up there. We've run over very slightly, so thank you for answering all those questions. We will pass on obviously any that are still to be answered. So if you'd like to wrap it up, if you can do, Aspen, by telling us what your competition question is and what your prize is too. Absolutely. So, well, thank you again for having me. Our question is quite easy. I don't know if I should have made it a little bit trickier for you guys, but it's your first time hearing about Saudi. But where will Saudi Arabia, in which city will it be hosting the Formula One race later this year? And up for grabs is a lovely bespoke Saudi Arabian goodie bag. Fantastic. So a lovely Saudi Arabia goodie bag. And it's the question is, where is the Formula One race going to be taking place in December? I have to say this now before we go back and say goodbye. Lynn Barham has written, she's now found the perfect destination for dry January. So that's one to look forward to for the future. Well done, Lynn, as well. Okay, so we've come to the end of our Travel Bulletin webcast. As always, if you need a recap on any of this training, it'll be available to watch as a recorded version from tomorrow morning on our website, also on our Facebook page and on YouTube. I'm sure you'll agree we've been treated to some brilliant training today. So we'd like to give a huge thanks to our partners, Dimitris and Aspen. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We've had some fantastic numbers there, so really good. And you've all learned something, I think, totally new, both from Aspen in terms of a new destination. From Dimitris has got the playground now to go out there and experience in something totally different over the next few months as well. So thank you for everyone for tuning in. Thank you for you guys for being here and training with us. Please give everyone a big wave and goodbye. Thank you guys. Goodbye.